Now, this is one of the main reasons I bought this model. I wanted a Class C and I wanted a toy hauler because you've seen my other videos probably, and I've got motorcycles, dog sleds, hang gliding gear, stuff like that. I needed just somewhere to transport that stuff on our trips. Class C and toy hauler are two things that do not go together very often, and as far as I could tell, the Thor Outlaw is like one of, if not the only model being made right now of a Class C toy hauler. So that really narrows your choices down quite a bit. So you can see the garage in the back. I'll get a more thorough look at that once we get inside the unit. But the ramp for loading motorcycles and dirt bikes and whatever into it can be turned into a deck. So this is super easy. It's just this clip right here on both sides. This is just aircraft cable. You just pick it up and unsnap that, and then you can drop the thing down as a ramp. Now, right now, if I drop it down as a ramp, since I'm kind of parked on a weird hill setup, it's not going to be a very usable ramp, so I'm not even going to bother with that. But these railings, I'll get to those more when we're up on the top. These all fold up nicely to make it really easy to use as a ramp or a deck back and forth. This awning is not electric. This one is a hand crank awning, and then it has these separate legs that you put down for extra support. Otherwise it just kind of sags down and is below head level while you're standing up there. So it's nice to have those extra legs to get it boosted up. It's up at the top of the awning. There is a large spotlight on both sides. Now, eventually, I'll probably make another video of how I hook those up to the reverse lights, because right now, the backup lights are only these, which are useful, but when you're looking at the camera and you want to get just kind of a bigger view of what's going on back there, it would be really nice to have those high spotlights as well. I'm not sure what the legal issues are with that. It should be fine. I mean, you're not on reverse on the highway, so it should be fine. But I'll look that up and possibly make another video for connecting those to the backup lights. This does have a class, what was that, class 2, class 3 hitch, which is pretty exciting if we want to tow around some jet skis or flat tow our car or something like that. Again, I talked about the engine being slightly underpowered, so that would probably be the determining factor. This one is another storage compartment, but less used for storage because it's got the inverter and the transfer relay box and the auto leveling sensor like we talked about earlier, and the slide controller back here too. So it's got a lot of electronics, so this is where a lot of the maintenance is going to happen for any of those sort of systems, but there is some storage capacity in here. So this is where I put all of my black and gray water draining stuff over here, and the electric system over here. 30 amp electric service, and has this nice little porthole here so that you can send the electric out of that and then keep this closed while it's hooked up. Keep some of the water and animals out. This is a gasoline engine, not a diesel. It can actually take ethanol 0 up to 15, which is pretty cool. I know some cars max out at E5 or E10. And I know out west, a lot of those gas stations are higher in ethanol than they are out east. So when we do another out west trip, that'll be useful. A cable hookup for connecting to cable TV, if your campground offers that. Now this lock I will probably end up replacing it in the near future because it's just very rough and feels flimsy. It's just hard to operate sometimes. It's got an outside shower for, this is going to be useful since we do have 3 huskies that like to get muddy. We'll probably rinse them off out here before we put them in the camper. So that's nice. You could also use it for rinsing off mountain bikes or dirt bikes before you load them back in the toy hauler area. City water connection right here. I do recommend, I was reading online that a lot of campsites and stuff just like over pressurize their water system, or it just might not be kind of what you're expecting, so that can cause some damage. So I've got in the other storage compartment a pressure regulator that just sticks onto here, and then you hook the hose to that. So I do highly recommend that. The hydraulic leveling system. Now, One con that I noticed about this area is that if you look in the wheel well back here, this side has a nice piece of plastic to keep the mud and the rocks and the dirt and stuff out of that area, but over here is completely exposed. So eventually I'll probably make another video, put a bubble up in the top right corner, explaining how I added my own cover here, because it just seems like it's going to cause some damage having rocks and salt and mud flying all the way up into the hydraulic system. There is a way you can manually crank them, just in case they all get stuck in the down position and you need to leave. I don't remember what that is off the top of my head right now, but I'll make a separate video for that stuff. This is the gray tank on this side, black tank is over on the other side, and what's cool about these is they tried to make this thing as all season as possible. There's tank heaters stuck to both the gray and the black water tanks, so you can turn those on in the winter while you're out camping to make sure things don't freeze up down here. These tank heaters that are underneath the gray and black water tanks, I'll put a picture up, but you can see it was hanging down below the tank. The adhesive that they used was just some tape that they stuck around the outside edge, and once that tape wore off, the tank heater just kind of fell down, or at least the insulation pad on the heater fell down and then actually melted against the exhaust for the generator right here. So it was slowly cutting a slit in the side of that from the exhaust heat. So that was one of my list of 40 items, was get that fixed up. There is also this easy flush system, so you can hook a hose into this as you're draining all the black water, and it will spray out the black water tank to clean it extra, so you don't have to get one of those sani wands to stick down the toilet. Up here we have the kitchen exhaust fan. I recommend, especially when you're storing things for a long period of time, you find a way to fill any of the holes and gaps that you can. It'll keep the animals out and stuff, or keep the insects or birds from building nests in there, stuff like that. So I just got some pool noodles and cut them to size so I can shove up into those to make that work better. So here's all of the service stuff for the water heater. Two things to note in here is this is the pressure release valve, so whenever you are draining the water heater, doing any service, anything like that, pull this out first, and it will purge the system of any pressure that's built up in there, so you're not worried about it just spraying out at your face or anything. This right here is the drain plug. Eventually I would like to swap this out for just a drain valve. Since it's back behind the propane hose, it's really difficult to get to with any sort of wrench or socket or anything. So I'd like to just make this a valve that I can just open and close right here. It does have the propane system as well as electric hookups. You can use either one or the other, or you can use both simultaneously for some really hot water and quick heater. Back down here, this is the generator. This is a Cummins RV QG 4000 watt generator. So that's enough to power the air conditioning as well as the TVs and fridge and stuff like that. And this is the access for the propane tank. Nothing special here. This is the one door that does not have a lock on it. I'm sure that's a safety reason or a legal reason there. Propane tanks, I have learned that you only ever fill it up to 80%, and it actually says that on the gauge itself, F is at 80%. Now, each of the side view mirrors also has a camera right here that will, I'll show you in a bit, is automatically actuated by the turn signals, so it'll show up on your monitor whenever you put the turn signals on. Up on top of the slide, we have an awning sort of thing. I forget what the actual name of it is, but it's got the roller fabric to keep the rain and debris and stuff from landing on top of the slide, so that's useful. It also intentionally rolls in the outward direction to make sure that if there are any leaves on top of it, they will just fall off rather than getting stuck inside of it and putting holes in it. When it rains, basically the water up on top of the roof will pour down, and then right at the seam where it gets into this this curved section for the bed, the water was redirected off to the side of the camper. So right here above this window, there is a solid stream of water that goes straight down onto the top of it. I didn't like this. I thought it was just a kind of bad design to begin with, and I got one of these easy gutters or something like that. I forget what they're called, but it's just a 3M adhesive that sticks onto here and redirects the water. So now any water coming off the roof, instead of just going into the window, will be curved off to the front here. And you can see it's obviously working because I've got some black streaks up here already. Also, you'll see up on the top I have some Eternabond tape to try to seal up some of the roof seams and stuff, to try to figure out where some moisture is seeping its way in through this window. But yeah, we'll look at that more on the inside. Eventually I'm going to install this all on the roof, but I started working on a solar setup, so I'm sure I'll make a separate video for that stuff, so look for the bubble up above my head. For now you can just kind of ignore it. It did not come with the unit, and right now I just kind of stick it outside just to keep the battery topped off while I'm parked back here.